Hey guys, it's Nick, and in this video I want to talk about the NFT art market and this recent auction of $69 million for this piece of NFT Beeple digital art. Now, this JPEG right here you see, I own on my computer and it's worth nothing. This same JPEG though on the blockchain on Ethereum or whatever sold for $63 million at Christie's auction house. So are you confused yet? I know I am. In this video, I want to talk about how the art market manipulates the prices of art and how it's similar to manipulation in the stock market. And so how they get people through social proof to get people to buy this art at inflated prices. So what is NFT art? It's just that, a JPEG or a GIF or something, a digital piece of art, so-called, that is worthless by itself, but when you put it on the blockchain, now it's a NFT, a non-fungible token, and fungible is something that is the same no matter where it is. So a good example is a lot of oil companies, they put oil or gas into the pipeline, let's say in Texas. They put in 2 gallons of gasoline and they could pull it out in New Jersey the same day because it's all the same. So like grain, wheat, that kind of thing is fungible. So what they're saying is the NFTs are non-fungible. You can't copy them because they're on the blockchain, so they're authenticated or signatured or whatever you want to call it. But in reality, I can make 1 million copies of this JPEG, no problem. And it's the exact same thing. It's not like I hire an artist to paint the Mona Lisa, because no matter how much skill they have, they're not going to make it exactly the same. Whereas this JPEG, you can copy it exactly 1 trillion times over. So you might have started hearing about NFTs recently. You see these high sales. This one went for 1 million or 100,000 or whatever. And you got all these people talking about it now, like Gary Vee, Alex Becker, Jack Dorsey just made an NFT of the first tweet he made or something that sold for 2 million or something ridiculous like that. So you see that the marketing machine behind NFTs is already starting. They're seeding all these little outlets to get people accustomed to the NFTs having value. This is really just like a marketing campaign. And the pinnacle of this campaign is the social proof of somebody like a Christies or a Sothebys that now auctions off one of these things and has a record price so that they can show it to everybody to say, hey, the social proof of the people in the art market, Christies or Sothebys, now gives their sort of cachet to the NFT market. So they combine these two to give it that air of respectability. Now, if you don't know how the art market works, there is a whole lot of price manipulation, price fixing, and all kinds of underhanded stuff that they do in the art market and at these art auctions. And it's similar to price manipulations in stocks, which is illegal in stocks, but somehow it's not illegal in the art market. The goal of this manipulation is to set a high price for some artist or category or something like that, so that everything under that now gets anchored to that higher price. So they sell one thing for really high, and all the stuff below it now increases in value because of that one certified so-called high price. Now guys, before we get too far into this video, if you're the type of person that thinks that $15 million for an all-white canvas like this Robert Ryman sold for in 2014 is a good deal, you might want to not watch this video. Here's another all-white painting that sold for $20 million. But it gets worse because you got these CryptoPunks NFT, which are basically these low-res looking JPEG kind of things. And they've sold for ridiculous prices like $500,000. And the total value of all of them sold is something like, over the last year, $163 million. Yes, for these little JPEGs. But they're not just JPEGs, they're 24 by 24 pixel art images generated algorithmically. So back to how the art market fixes prices for art. So most people are aware in the 1920s and 1930s, the major oil companies were polluting and fixing the price of oil to the point that they actually got taken to court for price fixing and violating the Sherman Act. And how they would do that is they sold a little bit of gasoline in smaller markets for high prices, and then they used those high prices as a benchmark to sell large amounts of gasoline or oil in bigger markets, to point at those smaller markets and say, see, this is the price. And so here you see it in this market, so now that's the price everywhere. And that's kind of how auction houses and galleries in the art world do it as well. Now, when this is done in the stock market, it's illegal, and it's called painting the tape. And what you would do is you trade between you and your buddies back and forth to make it look like there's more volume in this stock than there really is. And hopefully by the end of the day, you run up the price to a higher price at the end of the day to get people interested, because nobody is interested in the stock that's not moving. They're interested in the stock that's moving up, as you see in things like Tesla and all these other kinds of stocks. So painting this tape is illegal in the stock market, but not in the art market. So all they have to do is say, hey, look, we had this auction. It had this high price for this one artist, for this one painting. And coincidentally, we have another 100 paintings of his. And now it's worth 10 times what it was before this auction that had this new record price for this one piece of art. Now, maybe you're thinking, well, this kind of price manipulation happens maybe in some small galleries or some little auction someplace, not with one of the big guys that's been around for 250 years like Christies or Sothebys, right? Well, since people have a short memory, let me just remind them that Christies and Sothebys, who've both been around since the 1700s, agreed to pay a $512 million collusion settlement back in 2000 for auction houses that colluded on prices and cheated them. Okay, so this is nothing new under the sun. This has been going on forever. Is this going on now? I'm not accusing anybody, but this is how the art market works. And if you think that manipulation ended with that fine that they paid in 2000 in the art market, here's an article from 2013. High-end art is one of the most manipulated markets in the world. And in this article, in the Art Market Monitor, is it really this easy to manipulate an artist market? 2017, let's see. This writer for the Financial Times even wrote a book about it. And here she gave an example saying that it's much easier to manipulate an artist market than most dealers or collectors would believe. And here's a quote. Adam gives a word-of-mouth example which works as follows. You buy 10 works by a young artist for, say, $10,000. After a year or so of planting bits of hype here and there, you place one work in an auction. Kind of like all the NFT you've been seeing here and there for Gary Vee and Jack Dorsey and all this stuff, CryptoPunks and all that. So then you and a co-conspirator then bid the work up to, say, $100,000. Once the hammer has fallen at that level, because the chief way of determining prices in art is simply by previous achieved prices, meaning painting the tape like in the stock market, you can slowly, no rushing, sell off the other 9 works at similarly inflated prices at an enormous profit. So is that what is going on in an NFT market with this Beeple $69.3 million Christie's auction? In other words, did they just raise the price of all NFTs so that they can market much cheaper NFTs to the kind of common folk out there who think they're going to get rich and make millions of dollars in the newfangled, Bitcoin kind of art market? And of course, this comes at a time with Bitcoin at new highs. So everybody is really interested in Bitcoin, and the people who missed the bus on that are now looking at NFTs and being sold the story that, well, maybe you missed out on Bitcoin, but now here's a new way you can get in. And here's the social proof that you got Beeple, this NFT artist, you got Christie's, the known art, high-end art auction house together, and you have this new high price the most expensive sale, third biggest sale of any artwork by any living artist. This is, this is marketing at its finest right here. And here's a chart of the total crypto art value sold. And you see, just in the last few months, it's gone crazy. It says $78 million. Total artwork sold 66,000. So they're really ramping this up to get people excited and interested in this. And this is the next generation of digital art collectibles. I don't know if you ever heard the saying that it's not art if a 10-year-old can replicate it, meaning like the white on white canvases or squiggly lines or something like that. Now you need to update that saying to say something like, maybe it's not art if you can duplicate it 1 trillion times on a USB flash drive. So not only is this stuff ugly, but it can be duplicated trillions of times digitally on a flash drive. So now maybe you're wondering, why do I care about this? I'm not in the market to spend $69 million on some NFT JPEG, right? Well, the point of that sale is not to get a bunch of people to buy $69 million pieces of JPEG. It's to set the value of this thing so that all the people down below that want to invest 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 to think that their thing is going to go up a whole bunch as well. It's like the halo effect. And so examples of this are with car manufacturers, where like say the Ford has the race car Ford GT. They don't make a lot of those, they don't sell a lot of those, but because they have that halo, they might sell more Mustangs for people who can't afford the GT, but they see the GT and its performance, and so they can afford the Mustang, so they buy a whole bunch of Mustangs. They sell a lot of Mustangs, they don't sell a lot of Ford GTs. Or like the saying used to go with racing, the racing teams, they would say, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. So if your favorite NASCAR, Ford, or whoever won on Monday, it would be selling a lot more Fords because of that halo effect. A really good example of the goal that NFTs have with this thing to sell to the mass market is with fashion brands. So somebody like Gucci, they may sell a few $10,000 dresses that they go to all the fashion shows and they have these designers and they're in all the fashion magazines and stuff like that. But most people are not buying $10,000 dresses. But what they could do is go and save up a little money and buy a $200 Gucci belt or something like that. And so that's how they sell to the masses. They have the halo product and people see that and they want to participate, but most people cannot afford that. So they buy what they can afford. And that's a belt, a cell phone case, a scarf, or something along those lines. And so you see here, Gucci sales of leather goods and shoes makes up like 73% of all their sales. There's nothing here about $20,000 dresses or anything like that. Maybe that's the other category. And here's an article that explains this better about Vetements, which I've never even heard of. But in the article, they say that Vetements is primarily known for its daring runway shows and avant-garde apparel offerings. But now they are pushing a different item, a phone case. And so just like I said about Gucci here, it says this is part of a growing trend in luxury businesses of leaning into the accessibility of accessories. While luxury good brands rely on the exclusivity of their more expensive apparel offerings, that exclusivity is always in conflict with the need to maximize revenue by getting as much product in people's hands as possible. Accessories offer a good way to do that. Customers who are not affluent enough to be regular Gucci customers and drop more than $1,000 on a jacket can instead save up and get a Gucci belt or a pair of socks. So guys, you see, that's the marketing plan with NFTs. And it's no coincidence that you're seeing this so much now that Bitcoin is up. And so that $69 million price, it's not for billionaires are going to go out, start paying $100 million for these things. It's to get the idea into people's heads that this digital JPEG thing has value. And although you can't afford the $500,000 one, you can afford maybe a $500 one, a $1,000 one. And guess what? They're not running out of these anytime soon. There is no limited edition. They can make trillions and trillions and trillions of these. So even if they convinced 1 million people to buy one of these things for $100, it's a lot of money, okay? And by the way, it's no coincidence that the newly rich people, you know, movie stars, basketball players, that kind of thing, once they come into money, they are slowly but surely convinced to become investors in the art market because they don't have anything else to spend their money on. So these art dealers see new customers through them, and they educate them, and they bring them to the shows, and they make them feel special and smart and sophisticated and all this stuff. And so that's what they're doing with the NFTs as well. You know, with Bitcoin in the 50,000s, there might be a lot of new Bitcoin millionaires who are looking to parlay that thing into the next big thing. And so this is the perfect thing for them. NFTs, you're already used to a digital money, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So why not the next logical step, crypto art? So this bubble phase we're in the everything bubble, is starting to make the tulip bubble look, I don't know, reasonable. But expect to see more of these planted articles here and there, and influencers and stuff talking about how they bought NFTs and they made 10 times their money in 1 month and stuff. It's not because they're really making this kind of money. Maybe a few of them are, but a lot of them are maybe just painting the tape, trading it back and forth between each other to make it look higher and higher. And by the way, it's been proven that that has been going on with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and other currencies as well, of wash trading between people and painting the tape to make it look like there's more volume and higher prices than normal. And it suckers people in, and you see the result of that. So that's what they're hoping to do with NFTs as well. Don't be one of the people holding the bag. Don't buy into the euphoria, because all you're going to be seeing on YouTube and articles and stuff like that is the people who made a whole bunch of money quickly. When this bubble pops, you're not going to be seeing those people making videos bragging about they lost 99% of their money because they bought some digital JPEG of some CryptoPunks or something like that. So guys, I personally believe that most modern art that's just white on white or squiggly lines and this kind of stuff is not art, personally, in my opinion. And NFTs is even worse. Not only is it not art, but it's not limited. It could be copied exactly infinitely. So it's pretty hard to get an exact copy of the Mona Lisa, but it's not hard to get an exact copy of this Beeple $69 million NFT piece of art. I mean, you can even have this thing as a screensaver if you want, for free. So that's my look at the newest invention to fleece people from their money. Guys, don't fall for it. It's one big bubble, and when it pops, people are going to be saying, what the hell was I thinking? I hope you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one, guys.